Alright, so this build is going to be the skill damage build. It's a very versatile build used for many things. This is my go-to skill build for farming, but you can also use it in certain places in the raid, and this is the trap build that I use for boss 3, and also my furnace room build that I use for boss 2. So, with this build, across the board, it is literally skill damage, armor regen on every single piece. So all 6 pieces, being one just a little slightly different, having an armor core rolled on top with, again, like I said, skill damage, armor regen. Talents consist of glass cannon, which gives you 25% amplified damage, but it's all amplified damage, meaning that it also affects your skills as well as your gun damage. Backpack talents that I prefer is tech support. On kill, it grants the skills 25% skill damage, lasting 20 seconds. Now, for the furnace room, for instance, you're not killing the enemy when you're doing the furnace room due to the fact that you're just shooting the boss. So I would then switch to the force multiplier, which gives you an additional 5%. However, I don't prefer using this in any other situation due to the fact that you have to keep it up every 3 seconds, so that's a lot of continuous shooting, and something like in a legendary fight where the NPCs do so much damage to you, if they actually hit you, you being out of cover puts you at extreme risk of that happening. Now, with the chest piece talent, when it comes to third boss, I would switch to I would switch to tamper-proof. I would switch the glass cannon to tamper-proof, so that when I need to trap the boss on the 3rd floor, or I guess the turret floor if you want to call it, it will trap him in place, and then I can then go ahead and have my team focus him. However, I wouldn't switch off the glass cannon until the last page of the letters. So with this build, you can either use it as the tower guy, which is what I usually do and have the tank be the diagnostic. However, I would let the tank do the letter valves on the ground floor, like spinning the valves, while I would call out what valves. That way, meaning the tankiest player on the board is doing the valves, which is, extremely dangerous for someone wearing glass cannon or squishier build, rather than him doing it. The letters screens from up top being literally in one of the safest positions, vice versa. Like, it doesn't make no sense. But being up top allows me to be able to already be on the top floor and then setting up my turret. So what I would do I would break my turret, call out the last screens, and then while my turret's cooling down, I would go into my menu, switch to the tamper-proof, and by the time that's set up, I just set up my turret at the last turret. Now, for the turrets, the boss goes right on red, left on blue, and left on yellow. Out of the 2 positions you can do is red and blue. Yellow, you cannot do from the top floor unless you throw it to the right side of the turret. And if you do throw it to the right side of the turret, you need a decoy to drag the boss over to that direction. If you don't use a decoy, he will go the opposite way. Now, the decoy doesn't have to be a level 6. You can have whoever was pressing buttons usually has a decoy on his DPS build in order to press the button safely. You can have him throw the decoy. However, if you drop down to the ground floor, there's crates to the side of the left turret that you can climb onto to throw the turret to the left side of the yellow turret. That is the more dangerous way, but you can get it to the left side. You just have to do it from the ground floor. You can't do it from up top. So, jumping back into the build, as you can see, the turret is hitting for 164. And then the drone hits for just over 100. It's hitting for 102 per bullet. That's base. With the tech support engaged, it would hit for slightly higher. I'd say slightly higher. It's going to hit for quite so much higher. Alright, so the tech support engaged is hitting for 205. And the drone's now hitting for 128 with just tech support engaged. So that will be your usual numbers when you're just not shooting and you're letting your skills do the work. So that's the base number of the build with just hitting your skills. Now, say if I'm hitting my skills and shooting with the capacitor, it jumps up to 242, and then the drone jumps up to 151. That's just with the perfect in sync engaged at the same time as tech support. The other one would be max stat on the capacitor, where the drone hits for 163, and the turret hits for 261. So those are your damage numbers when you're also shooting at max capacitor, and with perfect in sync dealing 40% per bullet. So, like I said, it's a very versatile build. You can use it for many situations in the raid. For instance, say you're in charge of a spawn door. If you use the tamper-proof chest, the bullet turret, and then switch this to a bleed hive, so you've got 2 shocks, you can actually hold down a door without you having to like be there by itself. As long as you just reset your bleed hive charges when they're going low, you can actually hold down a door just using this build by itself. Like, it's very useful in that regards, where you can literally switch it to suit what you actually need and pump out more than the build actually is. Another instance, if you use the same build, but obviously going back to glass cannon, you can also use it to knock out the shield guys and do damage to boss 1 by using the oxidizer chem, and then using the shrapnel charges. So in this instance, you would use the shrapnel charges on the shield guys and as well as the boss. And then the poison charges you would use after, and of course you've been overcharged at this point, so you'd have the overcharge go off, you'd fling the shrapnels that kills the shield guys, and then you'd just start spamming poison chems to kill the boss. And overcharged poison chems do ridiculous damage, and the reason why you can use it on this build is because other than the shrapnel charges, which is a one-shot anyway, so it doesn't require a status effect, the oxidizer chems is not a status, so it doesn't gain any damage from any status effect. It only gains damage from the the skill damage on your build. So it's literally viable for this build, which is insane because of how much this build can actually do. Speaking of which, going back to doing this build with Pfizer, the second boss on Iron Horse. So you would start off with this build like this. Well, I say like this, with it like this, using the force multiplier. So you would read the code from the doorway while damaging the boss. While the doors close for you to check the code, because your skills are still in the room with the boss, you're doing constant damage. Then when the doors open again, you focus in with the capacitor. You read the next code. And then after that code, if you still haven't done the damage, knocked him down to 4 1/4 bar, you should be reasonably close by that time, by the second code, which is insanely quick. You would jump out of the lock and gather both your rockets inside, waiting for obviously the rocket phase to go. Once the doors open again, you would do the rest of the damage, and then once damage is done, what I do is I throw my bullet turret at the front A spawn door, then switch my secondary to a heal cam. This allows me to heal my teammates on A, have B teammates go to the B door so I can shoot a chem at the door to heal them, as well as C, so I can heal all my allies on the ground floor from A's source, from A's corner. And also, if the healer is running low on heals and he needs to reset his own heals, he can pick up his hive, hold A open, and I can also shoot heals at him to reset both of his heals. That way, he's not just relying on his own heals. I can also help him out by healing him while his heals reset. So like I said, the versatility in this build is insane. Then when it comes to running into the furnace room to do water, I temporarily break my turret and switch it to a decoy. Throw the decoy into the front right of the room. Make sure it lands before going into the room. And remember, this is a tier 6 decoy. The boss will not even glance at you until that decoy has been destroyed, which fire doesn't destroy the decoy, so it's literally going to be there for its entire duration. The armor regen helps to prevent you dying from, like, obviously the tick damage of the furnace room from the regen, but also I'm running heal chems as like a skill build, not a healer, but a skill build, skill tier 6 heal. It's way more than enough to do that run without an issue. The only issue would there be is if the boss was flaming you at the same time as the room. I have no issues running, dropping the heal, running to the cannon, dropping the heal at the cannon, shooting the water, and running to B without the boss even looking my way. The decoy's still up. You probably got like 10, 11 seconds still on the decoy by the time that you leave the furnace room. It's so simple with this build, and it does so much. On top of that, when it comes to doing weak points, if you use the capacitor to shoot the weak points, you can one clip and like 10 bullets every single weak point, due to the fact that the capacitor also gives you weapon damage on skill tier. So that takes out other people having to come into the airlock, leaving their ads to shoot the weak points. You can do all of the furnace room with this build. Yes, you can't one clip it like a DPS build, but you'd rather that DPS build killing its ads rather than me going out trading with the Hasbro build that can't kill ads, and as soon as the DPS build has finished shooting its weak points, it's now having to come out and clear up the ads that was missed when it was in the airlock. Rather, if I'm using this build, I can do every single stage and help out other people at multiple times, at multiple stages. It is literally one of my favorite builds to run.